All right, you are now tuned in to the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmy Lee Velez. I'm here with Goose.
What's up?
Heck,
Yep.
and Gabe. Here we are, year-end review. In this episode, the crew talks about their overall experiences/results in 2017. We cover topics that range from work, health, family education, spirituality, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Confucius and Les Brown. All right, if you're new, thank you for listening. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. We kick things off with a definition from dictionary.com, and we define the term review. And they define it as to go over lessons, studies, work, etc. in review, to view, look at, or look over again, to inspect, especially formally or officially. Which totally makes sense. So that's basically what we're going to do here, year-end review. We're going to kind of reflect upon the 2017 year. I feel like this is going to be our tradition of ours. We did it last year, and it was pretty cool. So... and obviously a lot happens in 1 year. All right, to kick things off, we are bringing you an article titled 6 Tips for Acing Your Year-End Review by Marshall Loeb from Market Watch. Number 1, be prepared. Conduct a self-review before you meet with your manager. Be honest with yourself. Evaluate how well you manage your objectives. Summarize what you have accomplished. And give yourself an overall rating. Be sure to include detailed information. Number 2, be sure to share 1 or 2 stories that illustrate how you've gone above and beyond the call of duty and not playing the video game. This is the time to remind your bosses of the kinds of additional contributions you make and your dedication to the organization. Number 3, study your weaknesses. Identify what you can do better and have a plan prepared illustrating how. Create goals for the upcoming year and formulate a plan for how you will achieve them. 4, during your review meeting, take notes. It will be useful for you to have them so that you can follow up properly during your next review. That's awesome. Don't lose your composure during the review process, no matter how difficult it might be to accept criticism. Number 5, keep the conversation focused on yourself. It may be tempting to talk about your colleagues, but don't succumb. Straying to discuss others may reflect poorly on your own performance. And last, number 6, by the end of your review, try to reach some kind of consensus about your overall performance. If you can't agree with your supervisor's assessment, ask for more time so that you may find information to back your claims. So that is 6 tips for acing your year-end review. Obviously, that's for if you're an employee and, you know, you're talking with your boss basically on how you did for the year, which I got to tell you, that is never an easy thing.
No.
Even if you did absolutely excellent for that year or whatever it is, it's just a hard thing to like talk about yourself. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. In the back of your mind's like, you know, well, didn't you notice how well I did? Yeah. But then you got to understand that person has 35 other people to like worry about or notice. Yeah. So yeah, I'm sure there's huge segments or moments of your, you know, that last year that pop up in their head about you, but not the detail. Yeah. So it's really your job to provide that detail, basically to remind them. And I think that is the weird part, because if you have some level of humility or you're humble in any fashion, it's very hard to do. Even and here it is. It can go the other way. Because I've actually sat through a year-end review where the person boasted about themselves so much and they were not as good as they said, and it went bad actually. Sure. Because then all of a sudden the supervisor, who wasn't going to necessarily criticize him as hard, went hard as anything and like crushed this person, and that was not the plan.
That's interesting though, because like you said, there's always that one person that speaks highly of themselves, and then the manager knows right off the bat, like, what in the world are you talking about? When did you succeed so high here?
Or the rest of the team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you always have to understand that there's always going to be a complainer in the group or whatever. Absolutely. So somebody's coming to the boss and saying something. So you can't make it seem like you're the angel at all times. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's impossible. Even people who are really good can mess up.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Or have messed up. There's
The
no way.
The
No
best
one had
is
a
when you
perfect
have
year.
a complainer and a successor.
They could. What do you mean?
They're a complainer, and they do everything, and they surpass everything, and their job duties or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen those a couple of times.
I've seen something similar. I've seen where somebody like it happened. This actually was a different person. They gave themselves outstanding for everything, but they weren't necessarily like, confident or over talking themselves. But it was like they did incredible in every category. And so when they were asked what they need to improve, they didn't say anything, and they basically said like, for me to maintain. Okay. And then all of a sudden, again, it got turned. Maybe you outgrew this position.
Oh man!
Huh.
And we don't have another position
Smack
for
in
you.
the face.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So it's a tough like thing. So what if that person's right? What if they did do that well, and maybe it is time for them to move on? Yeah. I don't know.
It's time for change.
But so you get caught in that thing where like, well,
because there is a thing of what is it, overqualified for like a job.
Yeah, overqualified.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's actually the exact word they use. Maybe you're overqualified for the position now. And the person who was saying it was coming from the right place.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they're trying to make this person feel bad. They were saying maybe
they weren't trying to flip it on him. They were actually being honest.
It got turned, but like it got turned in like an honest way. It wasn't turned in like, I'm going to crush your feelings right now. The one other situation did. This one was different. It was like, maybe you're overqualified.
Okay.
It was a legit because here's the thing. Everyone always has room for improvement.
Sure.
And if you find yourself where there's nothing else you can do better, then obviously you're not challenged.
Sure.
And there's nothing worse than, because if you're not challenged, that means you're at work bored. You're going to become bored. And it's complacent. And complacent. And it's not good for the culture.
Yeah.
It's just not. Because people are going to feed off that. People who need work are going to see you, and they're going to interpret that as you being lazy.
Sure.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just not a good look. And so a lot of times, I've seen supervisors give this person additional jobs. The problem is when a supervisor is limited on what they can do when it comes to maybe a bonus or a raise.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So what if this person could only get your max allowance for each one of your staff members is a 3% pay increase?
Yeah.
Well, what happens now when he sees that you gave everyone else 3%, but you also gave him additional work?
Yeah, exactly. When the pay doesn't measure up to what you're doing anymore.
Right. So, well, it's going to be super hard when you're only limited that much amount anyway.
Sure.
But I'm just trying to give like an example.
No, absolutely.
I haven't seen that, but I have sat through enough reviews to see certain things pop up that you're like, oh crap. You know what I mean? Like, I feel bad for both parties.
Because you can see they can handle more work, but then you can't equify that with actual, like you said, bonuses and stuff that goes along with that.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't
but because I feel like that is that's everyone's argument.
Yeah.
Am I getting paid what I'm worth?
Sure.
I mean, we talk about that all the time. I get paid what I'm worth. And I'm gonna tell you probably like 90% of the people I've said that no, they're not necessarily paid with, but they're also, you get the people who are like, I'm happy with my salary, but I don't think I'm paid enough.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense. It's like, of course, basically you would like more. Sure,
absolutely.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting paid is, it is what it is kind of thing. Because they don't know if there's another equivalent out there that's going to pay more.
Sure.
There's companies out there who literally just have deeper pockets, and they can offer their employees who I've seen this also. We had people come to our sector of the industry, and we're in another sector. Okay, for example, like our finance guys, right? A finance guy, obviously, that's in every business,
sure,
right? So they're doing the books, they're seeing where we are health wise, financially, right? Mm-hmm. If they're coming, for example, to a nonprofit organization or hospital from a pharmaceutical company, they're doing the same job, except the pharmaceutical company can offer you about 30% more a salary.
And you probably have room for growth and all that stuff.
Right. So it's like, okay, so what do we, you know what I mean? But when you get to certain levels, there might not be that level of equivalent or a company that offers that, wage. I don't know. It gets crazy. And that's why I want to pull this out, was because it really is, it's important to be truthful.
Yeah.
And I can't speak for, every manager or whatever, but when you start seeing it, you do appreciate the person who's like, I know there's like a couple things that I got to work on because obviously I'm not perfect, and here's what I think they are.
Yeah.
Do you agree? And someone says something like that versus I don't need anything. In the back of my mind, I'm like,
or the ones that are the self-imposed, like employee of the month type things, where it's like, oh, they think they're doing great at everything, but they're
had that.
They're like the worst employees ever.
I seen that. They weren't necessarily the worst, but I seen someone basically want credit, and everyone basically stare in their direction like, I know you just didn't say that. Like, because you don't carry, you don't
carry the torch of what you're saying.
Right. It doesn't. It doesn't add up. So, and that person is. I don't know if they're ignorant to like what they actually feel like they're contributing, but they call it like valued contributors or whatever,
or oblivious to what they think they do.
But then there's people who are the other way. There's people who don't think that they are valuable to the company, and then they're like highly valuable. They kind of like, are down on themselves. So then that goes in. You go into your review. You don't want to be all boastful because it is weird and it's mostly uncomfortable. You basically come down on yourself and you're hard on yourself. And then now the manager's looking at you like, oh, well, this person doesn't even have confidence in themselves. Why would it? So you got to think of it as a manager. Like when if you're a manager, you have to flip it, because the manager is putting themselves in your shoes. Yeah. So you have to put yourself in a manager. What you think they're gonna want to hear? Do you think they want you to hear it sound like you're gonna be perfect? Probably not. Do you think that they want you to seem like you're the worst employee ever? Probably not. I'm not sure why you would say that. And if all those two are above, maybe there is a time where you need to move on. Yeah. Maybe that is just the case. Yeah. Because it doesn't necessarily mean every time. The issue is there's a mindset that every year I deserve a pay increase, and every year the business makes more money. That's just not the case.
No, yeah, exactly.
There's some years that are. I mean, you think about if you were like if you were a realtor in the real estate boom or the stock market, when the stock market crashed, and you worked for a firm. Yeah. And you were investing monies or whatever, and basically on your returns, your percentage returns, how well you did. You got a percentage on how well the company did at the end of the year. Okay, well, what happens if the company you did okay and the company basically tanked? Yeah. Are you going to expect that $1 million raise as a stockbroker? I don't think so. So it's like they have to deal with it just as much as everyone else. But for some reason, there's this thing that everyone just thinks they're getting a raise.
And I guess it comes down to expectations on stuff too. It's like
that's true. So that's the boss's fault as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Because you can't say, "Oh, we're doing great, and then at the end of the year, you're like you said it, the company tanks. You're like, yeah, well, I can't give you.
Thanks for all the great work. Stick with me. But yeah, so the year-end review, it's just kind of. Let me just tie this all back in. So the year-end review is a legit reflection on everything throughout that year. Obviously, it depends on the company, but in our, for our sake, we're gonna say that our company is our family. Who we are kind of like our lives in that sense. So if you could kind of think of the year in review and be real with yourself when you're doing your quote reflection, or you're thinking about like this past year, who's giving me the bonus or where is it coming from? It's going to reflect off your family, right? Right. Or, how they view you, or how we did as a family, as a whole. All right. So moving right on, Let's think about and talk about 2017. As you reflect back on the 2017 year, what was your greatest lesson learned?
Well, for me, a big one was with the shop. Obviously, we had some ups and downs. The lesson I learned was obviously the business. Me and the business, I do everything with like my heart and soul and like passion, and with. Got like the business got like a curveball thrown at us, and it was about with like the building. I don't know, they tried taking the building away or bumping up the rent for the barbershop. So I had to actually move. But like my lesson was like I do everything with passion. I try to like stick with one thing. And before I even made the move, I wasn't open minded on expanding anywhere else.
Yeah.
I was just stuck in like that little little nutshell. I just wanted to like stay in that little small space where I actually had the opportunity to find a bigger space and wasn't even that far away, and it expanded my business even more. So I just like my lesson was just like kind of view your options openly, like open wide, even outside of the box, outside the area, because there can be more out there like than just trying to like work on the small bit you have and try to make that bigger and try to make it expand.
Yeah.
There's definitely more options.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to stick with what I had. Like I had no options.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Kind of widen your perception.
Yeah, just open up. Honestly, open up your eyes.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the biggest ones was patience. And I feel like that should be kind of like a normal thing. But there's a couple things that happen that I naturally, for me, wanted to rush into and hurry up and get done, and it didn't work out. And we always talk about like there's reasons why certain things don't work out.
Sure.
But the way they came together, certain things came together that didn't happen last year, and I was very impatient. And I just kind of went with the quote flow, even though I'm still, doing my thing, still out there grinding, trying to make things happen. There's a difference between working hard towards something and forcing something.
Sure.
And before I as I look back now, I was forcing a lot of stuff. Yes, I was working my butt off, but there's working hard and there's working smart. And I was working hard, not in a negative way. It just wasn't smart.
Yeah.
And I was forcing things that didn't need to be forced. They didn't need that extra exertion. It was one of those things that were just going to happen anyway. For example, like this has nothing to do with my situation, but let's just say a due date for something, right? Let's just say a due date is the 25th of November. It's due it's going to happen the 25th of November. This is my thinking. That's not how it works.
Realistic.
Yeah, it's going to happen on the 25th of November, and I'm thinking that because I'm working harder that I can make it happen sooner.
Yeah.
It's almost like just walking into a wall and then not realizing like there's a door right next to you. Like just relax. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what makes that such a dumb move, and I'm just speaking for myself, is that I could have used that energy towards something else.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Instead of keep walking into the same wall over and over again, I already put in the work earlier in the year. That's going to happen. It's going to happen on the 25th of November. I should know that. But in my mind, I thinking that I'm being aggressive, and it's not really being aggressive. It's incorrectly basically analyzing a situation and forcing it. It's forced.
Yeah.
It's just there's certain things that you have to just put in the work and just trust the process, basically.
Yeah, because then you try to do it too quickly, or then you start stumbling trying to do it quicker.
Right.
So
it's like the inevitable. It's like I don't know how to explain it. Think about how like ridiculous this example is going to be. It would be like my birthday is June 19th, and it would be like me trying to make it May 19th.
I can do my birthday quicker.
Yes, yeah, like I can be older faster.
Yeah.
Remember how when we were kids we couldn't wait to be older?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like that was kind of your mentality. Like, come on, hurry up! If I go to bed right now, tomorrow's gonna come faster.
Oh yeah.
It was like it just doesn't make sense. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
So for me, obviously, it was patience and not using my energy, like a bull, but utilizing it in different ways, just a smarter way.
Sure.
For me.
So I know for me, like being critical of myself is becoming a problem, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's like that. You become more like determined to do certain things that because you feel like whatever the situation, like you start overthinking, analyzing all the stuff that it's becoming a problem in terms of like really progressing in terms of like what you want to do and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I know it's like.
So it's like one of those things where you're overcritical. So in a sense that it's stopping you from doing other things.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's over the top. So kind of flipping that, what is something that you accomplished this year that you're proud of?
Because one thing I I think I talked about before was like the one thing I've actually wanted to do for years is kind of like try to learn language and stuff like that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So I've been doing that continuously since like May. So it was like something that like I've actually stuck with for like, a long time, for like months now. Obviously, we're almost back in January. So I was like, I'm actually like sticking with that. I've done it continuously. I mean, it's like it's a hard thing to learn, probably being older and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very slow process, but at least I'm glad I'm actually
Hacking
stuck.
away at it.
It's little by little, keeping at it. So
that's awesome.
So that kind of like helps a little balance a little bit. So
yeah.
How is that going? It's good. Like you.
Because I mean, like
understanding it now, like with other people being around, and
especially now, like because the two coworkers I'm left with, like I think I showed you before, like my job like situation kind of changed a little bit. So two coworkers, they're both Spanish, and actually I have more Hispanic in my
genetic
DNA.
Well, yeah, my DNA it's coming out more, but no, like actually we're a little more mixed crowd, and since we merged with a different department, well not different department, but the other half of the department, it's a little more mixed now. Before it was like there was only a couple of us like that were Spanish, like so like it kind of puts me more in that environment to kind of like
so it kind of opens you up to it more now.
Yeah, so I'm running all day now too, so it helped. It definitely helps cool. at least hearing and understanding a little better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at my job, it's kind of the same way. Like the guy that Eric, who was on our podcast, he's from Panama, so him and I like we speak Spanish to each other throughout the day, but their Spanish is different from Spanish from Puerto Rico. So it's like. So I'll look at him. I'm like, the dialect is different. I looked at him. I'm like, well, what does that mean? Or he'll say vice versa. Like, oh, that means this, right?
Yeah.
And it just goes back and forth, hand in hand. And stuff. But it's actually cool that like you could spend half of a day going back and forth.
But yeah, so it's definitely like it helps out. Cool, like I'm trying to like force them to like talk to me more and everything too. So I was like, cool. I'm trying to help it along a little bit.
For me, I think it was buckling down and being able to start my next chapter with schooling and entering into the MBA program at Drexel University, and just the start of it, because a lot of stuff is like kind of you say is like self-doubt. It's like I don't know, can I do that again? Was I just a young ball of energy back when I was at Temple, and I just basically bum rushed it, and that's how I got through. Can I handle that? Do I have a family now? I've a lot going on, a very demanding job. I mean, can I do this? You know what I mean?
A lot more going on now than you do.
Yeah, exactly. All those questions that are just like flying through your head. You're like, I don't know. But then when would I know? You know what I mean? Like if I'm going to do it, just go for it.
Take that leap.
Yeah, and I went for it. I think beyond Drexel, I just think it was, or beyond the program itself, I think it was just the defeating the doubt.
Sure.
For me was one of my favorite accomplishments.
Yeah.
Because it was like I could have easily talked myself right out of that.
Mm-hmm. And the other part of that too, it's like it's easy to and just like, oh yeah, I'll do it eventually or type thing, whatever.
Yeah.
And like you just never actually eventually get to it, like, and all that stuff starts coming in, like, oh yeah, it's too much going on now. I'll wait till it dies down, whatever type stuff, and then like it just never happens.
It's never a good time. I mean, you just take that bullet and just jump right on it.
Yeah. I mean, there are. I wouldn't say that it's never, the perfect timing is never the case, but there are better times.
Sure.
Correct. Yes.
So if I believe anyway, but I found myself in conversations with people who also have been wanting to go back for, a graduate degree, and all of us sit basically at a powwow and tell each other how busy we all are and the reasons why we're not, pursuing it without even realizing it. I don't know. Out of that group, I'm the only one that's doing it.
Actually, okay.
So I don't know if I just stopped listening to that or if I just was like,
unless that was like a weird motivation to go and just do it.
There was a push though. The push was when you get accepted, you have to begin a course, or you have to begin your program with it. I think it's 18 to 24 months of acceptance.
Okay.
So I was running on a thin timeline anyway. So I'm like, dude, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now. And all I could think, I was like, dude, you studied all that time to, for your GMAT or whatever exam. Then all that stuff, all those people who helped write those recommendation letters. I mean, these are old bosses and college professors. Are you just like, that is just a waste now?
Yeah.
Like because if you don't do it now, it's going to bother you. Right. Yeah. And then here I am 10 years out the game. And what am I gonna let another 10 years, pass me? I don't care how long it takes me at this point. It's the fact that I still, because once you start, now it's just like, now it's on you.
Yeah.
Because the program just basically goes on you and your time. It's the starting part for me, and people's excuses. You could have the best excuse, but it's still at the end of the day, it's an excuse as to why you can't do it. Because not only just for myself, I've seen how much I can still do, but I've seen other people who are even in worse positions that are still doing it with, that are grandparents at this point and that are still going through it, that are, fathers and mothers of 5 kids. I was in a group project. This dude has 5 kids. They're all under the age of 5.
Huh.
Because he had a set of twins. And it's like, dude, this is crazy.
Wow.
And he's doing it with a full-time job. You know what I'm saying? So what are you allowing to stop you from actually doing something? That's what you check. Because at the end of the day, all the people who you told are your excuses to, they got to live their own lives. They're not the ones that have to deal with it. You know how bad that's going to mess you up, like eat you alive. Your entire life, you're like, the what if?
Yeah.
No. I was like, no, I don't know. I might be in over my head. This might be the worst decision ever, but I'll never know. Like, I just don't. Maybe I'm done. That's it. I don't know. But at least I know in the back of my mind, I went for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I talk the talk.
Yeah, I mean, for me this year was like when I got my promotion, I knew what the promotion was, and I knew that they expected more out of me, which in the back of my mind, I know I could do it. But I still had like that fear of not accomplishing it or not getting what I need to get done. And it's like, I felt like if I don't accomplish what they're asking of me to get done, it's like, damn, dude, like we gave this guy.
You're like letting them down.
Yeah, I'm letting them down. Yeah, I feel like I'm letting them down. So it's like, I try to stay on top of things and try to get extra stuff done and try to be all over the place at once. Like I try to get myself more involved now, more like into meetings to kind of help them out make decisions and stuff like that. Like I feel like that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Whether what I'm doing is right or wrong, I don't know, but I feel like that, and I haven't been told otherwise. Okay. And they just actually keep putting me more into things. So it was like, I don't know, I was actually like kind of excited. Like I said, the beginning of it, I was kind of scared of it, but now it's like, this is exactly how it's supposed to go, and then take it from there, see how far it takes me being in this position that I'm in now.
Yeah, I think there's always going to be the unknown. Like we will never have it all figured out. And I think just entering into, Goose talked about it earlier, entering into something that he wasn't necessarily comfortable with or didn't even know, almost ended up being forced into, but still make the move, because a lot of people could collapse under that pressure or not take the proper steps to attain what you need to attain. So it's not just, you can't just take that away or take that out of the equation. I know for me, during this year, one of my work life things was the same thing. I got a new job, and the job was, a higher demanding job in a sense. It demanded more from me. It was a manager position, so it's a totally different, area where I was coming from. Whereas the supervisors, there is a lot of differences. Where initially I'm like, oh, this is gonna be like a smooth transition. It's totally different. Like for me anyway, totally different. And just managing that, even my expectations were, met with a different reality of what it was. You know what I'm saying? And in a good way. It was like, oh, okay, this is how this works. And it's just every single day is different. Every single day is challenging. But it's cool to see what happens when you do take that step. Again, another step that I didn't, quote, have to make, right? But wanting to be better, I made. Was my stomach in knots half the time? Yeah, because I don't know is this the right choice for me right now? Is this the right decision? Yeah, like they're saying I qualified for this, but in my mind, can I cope with that, level of responsibility and be that confident? Like obviously,
I'm actually living up to the
exactly, kind of almost like what he was saying, and they clearly know what they're doing in a hiring process.
Sure.
So, that's what I'm saying. Where some of the stuff you just got to do your part and then leave the rest up.
Sure.
I guess in God's hands or whatever, you want to
accept that you were chosen for whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it, because otherwise you kill yourself with your own thoughts. I mean, seriously. Because you play all these stupid scenarios in your head of what could go freaking wrong, and half the stuff doesn't even ever happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh. And what happens if, dude, guess what? Everything completely was different than what I expected anyway. Yeah. So your expectations, has a lot to do with your results, number one, and basically how you feel as a person. We talked about this previously. If you expect your year to be something that's basically untouchable, but you're still expecting it, all you're doing is setting yourself up for disappointment. You know darn well that's not going to happen. For you to say in 24 hours, I'm going to make $100,000 and have no viable plan outside of scratching off a lottery ticket. You're just setting yourself up to be very disappointed tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like that.
So when you're not meeting your expectations with a reality or the hard work to back it, you're not going to have a good year. You're not going to have a good moment. You're not going to have a good mindset.
Sure.
And it's those little wins, getting a promotion, or or overcoming the procrastination of learning something new, such as a language, right? Or accepting the fact that this necessarily wasn't a personal thing, business wise, as he said. He said it in Goose said it in previous episodes that he was attaching everything with the business.
Yeah.
But with business, you can't attach your emotions necessarily. But he's experiencing all this stuff for the first time. So it's hard to do. This is his baby. He sacrificed a lot to get here. So how can you not attach all those emotions? And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you're playing this like crazy balance game, and that we all do in a different way for whatever our circumstances are. And sometimes you're forcing something that doesn't need to be in your life anymore. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like this area, like I don't need to be at XYZ location, but I'm forcing myself again to stay there for no reason other than me trying to be comfortable.
Sure.
Because,
that's all it really is. It's a comfort thing. Everyone likes to be comfortable. They don't want to like make a change and be scared about something. You always want to make a move that you're secure about.
Yeah. That's why they say we're creatures of routine, of habit. Yeah. We just love doing the same thing because it's a comfort thing.
Because at least you know what to expect.
Right.
And when you're thrown for a loop, then everything else
everything
you feel like
crashes down.
Panic button goes off. I mean, how many times have you
the fight or flight type
we're driving home and someone's getting pulled over or there's a car accident or something and you freak out.
Yeah.
Like you freak out, like as if like that is the worst thing that could possibly happen to you.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe it was in your mind it was.
Yeah, absolutely. In your mind it is, yeah.
But you're mad because it wasn't the same old chill drive home that you normally take or whatever.
Or the same frustrating drive.
Or the same frustrating drive. Like this one dude I talk to very often, he complains about traffic every night. I'm like, dude, you know by now, you've been here for how many years?
Yeah.
You know you're going to hit traffic. Why is that bothering you at this point? That shouldn't bother you after 5 weeks, let alone 5 years.
That's like part of the norm at this point.
Yeah. Or change how you perceive that.
Sure, exactly.
Take a different route.
Right. But even if you can't take a different route, why are you still getting mad every single day of something that you
something
can't...
that you know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah. It's like, dude, this is going to disappoint you every single day.
And you know it.
Yeah.
And you know still get mad at it.
And you still get disappointed. You're still banging your horn and,
flipping the bird, the same old person, because the same person takes a ride home, too. It's like, what?
All right, so let's switch things up. Just as obviously we're dads or even just being a family member. What was a great family memory you have of 2017? Family memory. I know for me, obviously, for those that don't know, my wife and I found out that we are expecting an addition to the squad. So that has to be. Hands down, the highlight for me, memory-wise, for my family. Obviously, James does something every day to, like, me and Kel are just constantly, amazed at the stuff that this kid does, but like just finding out like we had the opportunity to, raise another one.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just it's total excitement for me.
Mine is this past summer I spent a lot of time actually with the girls. Jim and I were coaches for T-ball for the little ones, but like even still, like just getting involved with my second oldest, Lainey, with her coach and stuff like that, and them giving me some feedback on what to do with her and stuff like that. Just like knowing that I can actually make her better as a softball player and stuff like that, and just being out there with them this past summer.
Yeah, that was another highlight. This is the first time I've ever coached, and I had the opportunity to coach my sons and nieces pre-T-ball team, and it was just something that was priceless. I mean, I don't even know how stressful it was. I think back all the arguments that me and Kel had, like driving there and rushing there and all this. Like, it's not really arguments. It's just like, because you're rushing around, you're hungry, you just left work, a stressful day or whatever just happened there, and you have the responsibility to be somewhere, and you can't, like, you have to have the smile. Like, you can't like sit there and mean mug everybody as you're walking in or whatever. There's times where, dude, I was definitely faking. Like, that I was happy as hell.
Because I think probably like 3-year-olds too, right?
3-year-olds, guys. 3-year-olds.
These kids' attention span is, I think, shorter than a goldfish. You call them and they're running away.
Yeah, they look at you and boom, they're going.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Very, very stressful though when you're trying to explain something to them and you're telling them, okay, so you're running to first base, right? Yeah. Or no, you're going to second base, yeah, and they run straight to third.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just told you to go to second. What do you just went over this with me. And it's like, they're 3 years old. You're going to put yourself back in that thing. It was like, they just know they got to run, or they just want to continue running, or they hit the ball and they want to go after the ball because they know that they're supposed to chase the ball when the ball is being hit, not realizing that when you're hitting, you just run the bases. You leave the ball alone. But no, they got kids hitting the ball and chase and getting themselves out at the same time. So it's all fun they're all over the place. It's definitely great.
It was definitely great. It was cool. It was cool for the family and obviously the cousins playing with each other and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Too.
Well, for me, my highlight of the year was actually being on TV.
Oh, movie stars.
I had the barbershop had its episode on Hulu from the Small Business Revolution, and
who knew?
The whole process was pretty interesting. It was pretty dope. It was something that, I don't know, not many people get to experience. It was hard, but it was fun at the same time. But yeah, just to see myself like in commercials on regular like Monday Night Football, and you see the ad come on for the show, and you just like, that's me. It's just weird, crazy all at the same time. But it was reflecting now that everything's kind of done and over with. It was pretty awesome. It was like an amazing experience, like a once in a lifetime kind of thing. Yeah. It put a lot of exposure on myself as a business owner, and the same thing as for the barbershop, and then even the town as well, Bristol Borough. So like it's, for me, it was like hitting a home run. Like we got exposure. All from all over the place. So yeah, for me that was like huge. It was a huge highlight of the year. It might be something for like a while, but yeah, it's probably something hard to top. I'm pretty sure something else will come across it, but it was that was huge for me this year.
Yeah, that was that was a really cool. Just on the outskirts of the whole thing, just watching it all happen, seeing most of the process. What you can see or whatever, and be a part of. I don't know how, but just that whole experience, or like I said, like just watching someone go through it when there's like the ups and the downs, and then you see like what the end result is. It makes the victory that much sweeter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was cool getting business advice from like a business. We can say he's pretty much a genius, like Robert Herjavec. Like there's no one else that you would want advice from than someone that is so successful as he is.
Sure,
exactly.
Got a chance to meet with him, hang out with him. He's we talk one-on-one. And it was amazing. Like that's like I said, once in a lifetime kind of thing. Not everyone gets a chance to have that opportunity, especially with someone like him. And then all the other people like on the team and like the camera crew. The camera crew, they're people that no one sees. But the same camera crew is the same camera crew that does like the Animal Planet. They do like a lot of other major stuff, but you don't know them. You know what I mean? You don't see them. You don't see their but their talent is amazing. Like the host of the show, she was like awesome. She just like kept the energy going, and then like the actual like director asking all the questions, asking all the right questions, and that's someone you don't even see. No one sees him. Like he's off to the side. He's making sure everything's on point, and just like I don't know, they're just turning your barbershop into a set was like crazy. You know what I mean? Like, damn, this is what they do. And it took like almost an hour, 2 hours just to set up an interview to talk 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a lot. It's a lot to they get that's involved into it that not many people see or get it, like I said, get a chance to experience.
The other thing too is like how vulnerable you made yourself.
Sure.
And it's like you opened up not only your business, your personal life, everything up, and even in itself, it sounds so weird because you think like, oh well, this is like a launching pad, into the future or whatever. But there's the sacrifice still, that all the little sacrifices that you still have to make. Because it's obviously something totally different. The investment in time, something totally different. The hours of meeting up with people and the planning of stuff, and how he said it. For how long was your episode?
It was just a half hour.
Right.
It was 4 months of recording.
4 months of recording to capture, which I think obviously I believe it could have been longer, but that's what they pushed it down to, and they probably had like hours of.
Yeah, it was a whole series. So there's like 8 episodes in that series. So I mean, it was 4 months of recording 6 different businesses at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I was gonna say to a much lesser degree than Mikey. No, it's like I think I told you like I gave y'all props for like the stuff y'all do on a yearly basis, like the family stuff. Like when we like mom and sister, we hosted like most of our family coming up because we're scattered around like Florida and Virginia and all that stuff. Like we all hosted like the whole day. Yeah, doing all that. I was like a ton of work just for us. Like that, and y'all do that on a regular basis. So I was like, that's how I gave y'all props. And I was like, one thing we haven't done in a long time. Like most of my family being together like that. Right. We like have little bits and pieces like we're going to visit Virginia or like a few of us go down to Florida and stuff like that, but not all of us together like to that extent for the most part. So yeah. So that was like the family, I guess, like memory for like the year. So
yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah, we talked about that all the time. It's like, there's a lot that goes into each and every event that you have. But yeah, it's not easy. But that's good. That's good. And then you have something under your belt, and you know what to do and not to do next time or whatever, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it gets better and better.
Yeah, and it gets easier because you know either the group, what kind of party it's going to be, Exactly. So all of a sudden you start, getting things down to a T. And how much of what to get.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you always go overboard anyway, but...
Right. All right, cool. So the last question, the What Would You Do segment, knowing what you know now, if you could write a letter to yourself that would travel back in time so that you would receive it at the start of the year, what advice would you give yourself?
And it's always hard to answer that type of question because
of course,
you learn better from what you experience along the way as opposed to kind of instead of preempting this is what's going to happen or whatever happens. It's easier, not easier, but it's always a learn from experience type of situation.
Yeah,
that makes any sense.
I think mine would be more of an enforced idea instead of here's a new idea and now apply this for the rest of the year.
Sure.
I would enforce my confidence.
Okay,
because there's sticking to my guns because there's decisions I made that were the right ones, but because of certain people, I questioned it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So there's certain things that were, I don't know. I made certain decisions this year that I am extremely proud of that I don't know if I would have made even just last year. Okay. And what I mean is sticking to my guns. When I said something, I did something. But beyond that was you start to question, was that the right decision or not? Because a lot of people aren't involved. It's just you. It's like a decision that you have to make on your own, and not necessarily something that I had to seek mentorship or guidance from anyway. So it's like, dude, I made this decision. If it's the wrong one, I have to deal with the consequences. If it's the right one, I get to deal with the victory, right? But my thing was enforcing, who cares? You made it, what's right is right. You made the right decision. I'm not saying that it was necessarily the best for me or the worst for me, but it was the right decision. And I treated myself with a lot more respect in those decision-making processes. And I didn't allow someone's, quote, money or power deter how I was going to present myself or how I was going to conduct my business or my life just in general. I had a couple situations where someone could have steered me totally in a wrong direction. Number two, could have made an awful investment. Number three, doing business with a particular individual would just eat at me because I know how, they basically did me dirty already. And if I would have allowed them to, if I would have allowed myself to do more business with them, that would have bothered me, even if it was successful, because in my mind, they got over on me.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I stuck with my guns and I stayed true to myself, saying, okay, I basically now am not going to make any money off this, but I'd rather have that respect for myself than that person who did me dirty and could have made a situation that was bad, could have made worse if I would have continued doing business with them. And I made a decision right there that it was one time. You did me dirty one time. And normally in the past, this is what I was saying, like last year, I might have gave somebody a second shot.
Okay, gotcha.
They did me dirty one time. I was like, boom, you're done. And there was a lot of money on the table. A lot of money. Believe me when I say there was a lot of money on the table that could have been made. 5 figures on the table that could have been made. And I made a decision. It was beyond the money. It was... That's how this business is gonna always be. Everything's gonna be dirty. You're always gonna, because all here you're thinking about is money. Yeah, it's just tainted. It's just like, and if you got over on me on that one, then you're gonna, I don't know. That was just my thought process.
Even if it wasn't immediate, there was a potential of it down the line, no matter
what.
Yeah, you always have that in the back of your head too.
And it was there. Eating at me. Yeah. It was just eating at me.
You may not see it, but it's like, oh, what just happened just now? You just got over me again. Like,
it all becomes like an eventuality more than anything else.
Yeah. And we've done it in the past. We've done business with people we probably knew we shouldn't have done. Sure. We shouldn't have moved any further. Let me say that, because sometimes you don't know, and you get into business ventures and you have no idea, and then you realize after a couple of transactions or a couple situations that happen, probably this is not a person I should continue to do business with. But out of greed or selfishness or ego, you continue, and then you continue to screw things up.
Or naive.
Or just naive. Yeah, you're just immature. You're just knucklehead or hard-headed like me. But so. I'm like putting all those lessons together, and I made a major decision that I'm legit like proud of, and I held my own against a major entity basically, and still there, and still being chased for certain things that I don't want to have anything to do with, because I'm not going to conduct myself in a way that lowers my standards, because that's how you operate. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm doing me, and I'm like, that's one of the most, one of my most proud moments of, decision making that I made. But going back to this question is I would reinforce sticking with your guns, because I knew what was right, and I did what was right. Yeah. I didn't say it was the best for me because I was like, or the best for them, but I did what was right. And I got to tell you, dude, I'm sitting here very confident and happy about that.
Yeah. As long as you're proud of the decision you made. That's the most important thing.
Exactly. All right, there you have it, folks. We'd like to end our episodes with quotes, and the first one is by Confucius. By 3 methods we may learn wisdom. First, by reflection, which is the noblest, which is what we did today. Second, by imitation, which is the easiest. And third, by experience, which is the bitterest. There you go. And that's a lot to think about. Sure. And then the last one by Les Brown, review your review your goals twice every day in order to be focused on achieving them. So I guess that's how we'll, salute and welcome 2018. So there you have it. Year-end review. In this episode, the crew talks about their overall experiences / results in 2017. We cover topics that range from work, health, family, education, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Confucius and Les Brown. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyLeeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyLeeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.